In Japan, VR MMORPGs reach new heights of sophistication with players experiencing the game through all 5 senses, and NPCs behaving like real humans. Hiroshi Yuki realizes he does not have enough money to purchase the latest game, so he goes to a smaller store to see if he can find it for a lower price. Raina Kisaragi, the manager, dupes him into purchasing a 10-year-old game called QM Quest by pointing out its higher-than-average rating. When he first enters the game as his character Hiro, he is struck by how realistic the world appears. His first quest is to leave Ted and find a castle, but his childhood friend NPCs Alicia and her brother Martin inform him that leaving the city is illegal and try to prevent him from doing so. Hiro is irritated when Martin punches him, and he feels the pain, so he pushes and accidentally kills Martin, disturbing him with how realistic it all appears. Alicia goes insane, so he flees to the city where he meets Raina dressed as a fairy. She is astounded to discover that he has already ruined his chances of becoming the hero by earning the moniker Best Friend Killer. Raina explains that the game was designed to be completely realistic, so there is no starting over. Raina suggests Hiro seek assistance from Genji, a player who also murdered Hiro's best friend NPC Enrique. Hiro realizes that being a murderer has gameplay consequences. Alicia reappears, and Raina explains that Alicia is a skilled knife user, and that most players would make her a permanent teammate, but since Martin was killed, this option is no longer available. Hiro is able to log out after Raina, who is invisible to NPCs, attacks Alicia's eyes. Hiro's friend Takafumi advises him at school that if he stops playing games, his bullies may leave him alone. When Hiro logs back in, he finds Genji, a middle-aged drunk who reveals he killed his best friends without realizing his actions were irreversible, and he still hasn't won after 10 years of gameplay. He advises Hiro to learn martial arts in real life because their characters are based on their real bodies. He also tells him about Kamui, the player who won the game, then claiming that it will help. Genji removes Hiro's disguise, revealing him as the wanted murderer. Genji tells Hiro that if he admits to killing Martin, he will have to serve a real prison sentence. Martin's ghost appears in prison and decides to haunt Hiro until he remembers their childhood promise, which Hiro has no recollection of. Hiro realizes Genji is haunted by his best friends in the same way. Hiro is then rescued by a young woman named Mizurasa. The game warns him that he is about to undergo intense stimulation, and he agrees, thinking he and Mizurasa will have sex, only to discover she is the town inquisitor. She explains that if he confesses, he will be imprisoned, but if he is tortured, he will be released. Finally, Raina appears, explaining that if he does not want to be treated as a murderer for the duration of the game, he must endure the torture. Mizurasa prepares to amuse himself by chopping off his legs and arms, but the torture is abruptly halted when Raina examines Hiro's title. She realizes that by wetting his pants in fear, Hiro unintentionally unlocked a previously unknown skill and storyline that prevents the torture. While Raina is overjoyed, Hiro furiously quits the game and vows never to play again. Hiro recalls tripping and inadvertently wetting himself during his first high school race. An Olympic medalist in the audience, Mike McLachlan, identified his lack of mental strength and advised him to look inward. As a result, Hiro dropped out of the track team and became a target for bullies. In the present, his sister criticizes him for abandoning the game simply because it became difficult. He goes to Raina's shop to return the game after bullies take his money again. She does, however, inform him of Soichiro Kamui, a local politician who attributes his personal success to the lessons he learned from winning the game. She then shows Hiro a walkthrough Kamui made, but no one used it because Kamui was unbearably rude as a teenager. Hiro learns that he must defeat Alicia without fighting, obtain a sword, allow Martin to haunt him, and begin acquiring items because shops in the game can and will run out of necessary items. Raina persuades Hiro to keep playing by promising to marry him if he wins the game. Hiro returns to the unknown storyline while Mizurasa decides Hiro is her favorite victim ever and hopes to torture him again. Tesla, the captain of the city guard, explains that he is declaring Martin's death an unfortunate accident, and thus Hiro is released. Unfortunately, because of the realism, Alicia still seeks vengeance, and the villagers continue to believe he is guilty. Hiro approaches Genji for a loan in order to purchase necessary items. Hiro loses his cool and Genji refuses. Hiro is then visited by Martin's ghost, who reminds him of what happened the last time he was enraged. The ghosts of Genji's childhood friends appear to speak to him as well, though Hiro is unable to see or hear them. Raina persuades Genji that the fight was a duel, so he hands over his gold, and Hiro's title changes. Hiro goes to an item shop run by Melissa after deciding he needs smoke bombs to defend against Alicia, only to discover that he is still being charged inflated prices. He tries to retrieve the sword with which he should have begun the game, but Alicia is waiting for him when attempting to use a smoke bomb. Hiro forgets that, due to the realism, he must first light the fuse. Alicia attempts to murder him, but he is saved by Mizurasa, who refuses to allow Alicia to murder her favorite victim. Alicia outperforms expectations by knocking Mizurasa unconscious. Hiro gropes her breasts, remembering he is supposed to defeat Alicia without fighting, but due to the realism, she reacts like a real woman and grows angrier. Martin's ghost appears to aid Alicia in killing him, prompting Hiro to make a love confession. Alicia, his childhood friend, reveals her conflict and flees. Hiro realizes Alicia is unaware she is a gay character and believes he is her beloved childhood friend. And despite the fact that Martin's death was an accident, he fled like a coward rather than grieve with her. Hiro, realizing the purpose of Kamui's walkthrough, asked Martin to continue haunting him, revealing one of his character's childhood memories. Martin forgives Hiro and departs for the afterlife after learning that his childhood promise was that he and Martin would remain friends forever. When Hiro's title has changed to something slightly better, Raina believes he will have another chance to become the hero, starting with having his rusted sword repaired. They then notice that the city is on fire, something Raina has never seen before. The blacksmith informs Hiro that goblins are attacking. Raina issues a warning, "Hiro, goblins are incredibly powerful, and if he dies, his game console will be permanently disabled as a realism penalty." When Hiro asks if any of the players have ever defeated a goblin, Raina reveals that Kamui and Shohei have, with the latter being a boxing champion named Shouhida, who publicly admitted defeating a goblin was more difficult than defeating a real-life human opponent. Hiro instructs Raina to distract a goblin in order to save a young girl NPC who resembles his sister. Hiro unlocks a super speed skill based on his real-life running ability and saves her when the goblin nearly kills her. Tesla then arrives and kills the goblins, revealing to Raina that he is one of the game's most powerful NPCs. Pyro is furious when he discovers that saving the girl has added Lolita complex to his title. Hiro accepts Tesla's offer to join the city guard as a mercenary before logging out. Later, while watching Kamui's walkthrough, Hiro discovers that doing so is the worst option in the game because the survival rate is only 0.1%, implying that there is a 99.9% chance Hiro's console will be destroyed if he continues playing. Hiro discovers that despite keeping his childhood promise and defeating Alicia without fighting, he now has a 0 rating. He has a 5% chance of survival if he survives Tesla's intense 5-day training and the second goblin attack. Hiro then informs Keed that he is not quitting and will be staying in the game for 5 days. When he returns, Tesla introduces Hiro to Queen Govern, the city's enthusiastic ruler. Hiro later meets Granada and Paolo, 2 mercenary recruits like himself, as well as Kathy and Bob, soldiers who helped train recruits. Amos, the soldier who initially arrested him for Martin's murder, is his primary trainer. Hiro fails miserably against Amos and realizes that, like his physical body, he has no fighting ability, so he is shunned. Hiro oversleeps and arrives late for his second day of practice, so Amos assigns him to practice alone. Hiro is mocked by Granada and Paolo for being a friend killer and a weak soldier, but Kathy offers to train with him and teach him the fundamentals. Hiro is beaten in a duel on the 3rd day by Granada, who, along with Paolo, continues to mock him. Hiro notices how similar they are to his real-life bullies. Raina refers Hiro to the city guard's counselor for depression treatment, but the counselor criticizes Hiro for his lack of combat skills. When Kathy suggests that Hiro pray for guidance, all that happens is that a nun douses him in holy water. Paula viciously beats him on day 4 and warns Kathy that if she is Hiro's friend, he and Granada will beat her as well, so Kathy rejects Hiro. The next day, Granada is so badly pranked that he quits. Tesla later shows up with a letter purportedly from Paolo claiming Amos was behind the pranks. Tesla demands to know what has been going on, and Kathy reveals the bullying that Hiro has been subjected to, as well as how Amos, the recruits, and herself have done nothing to stop it. As a result, Amos is fired by Tesla, and Kathy and the recruits apologize to Hiro. That night, Ryana reveals to Hiro that the pranks were her idea, causing his title to change as if it were his fault. Despite his poor training, Hiro decides to fight the second goblin assault, even if it means destroying his console. Ryana decides to reveal the true reason she wants him to keep playing. As a reward for his bravery, Ryana reveals that Kamui once rejected her in-game because her breasts were too large, so she vowed to marry someone who finished the game as petty revenge. When Hiro logs out, he discovers that Keat is becoming increasingly concerned about him. After reviewing the walkthrough, Kamui advises Hiro to stop relying on it and instead fight. Tesla announces that Granada and Paolo have been replaced by Ms. Orisa and Alicia and assigns them to patrol the evacuated city with Hiro. Alicia and Ms. Orisa apprehend a thief who admits that a crime boss ordered the thieves to steal as much as they could before the goblins arrived. When they break into the thief's headquarters, they discover that the boss is Ginji. Hiro, irritated by Ginji's selfishness, insists on fighting him alone, only for Alicia to defeat Ginji in order to save time. Ginji is impressed with Alicia and regrets killing both of his childhood friends, but he is happy to go to prison because prison cells are not attacked. The goblins attack, and Hiro needs to use the restroom again. Despite having already done so, a goblin confronts an unprepared Hiro while he is in the bathroom. Ms. Orisa decapitates the goblin and proposes to Hiro. Hiro is able to flee after Alicia interrupts them, but he needs to use the restroom once more. Ryana asks about his past, so he explains what transpired. Ryana teases him about it, which irritates him, relieving his stomach ache but changing his title to reflect his bathroom habits. Hiro suspects the Goblin King, One Eye, is the reason the mission has a 0.1% survival rate. When he invades Queen Govern's palace to distract One Eye, Tesla brings in 3 captured goblins. Pyro realizes they have been kidnapped for a long time based on several clues. When Tesla murders One Eye, he admits that he captured the goblins 7 years before, and that One Eye was their father. When Govern arrives, they reveal that goblins are actually intelligent and peaceful but terrifying when enraged. As a result, they used it to their advantage, scaring people away from leaving and entering Ted, allowing them to rule the city completely unopposed. Tesla murders his men to conceal the truth, leading Hiro to realize Tesla is the true final boss he must defeat. Felicia defends Hiro after deciding to forgive him and is assassinated. Hiro then uses his speed to defend himself against Tesla. Camille's walkthrough reveals that the player's strong emotions temporarily negate realism. Hiro outwits Tesla and stabs him, only for his sword to snap just as Tesla is about to strike. Hiro's soul travels to meet Martin, who offers to help Hiro. When Hiro returns, he discovers that his broken sword has become a cursed best friend killer blade. Hiro is about to kill Tesla when he wakes up in his room, having forgotten about Govern, who bumped him from behind, allowing Tesla to kill him and destroy his console. Hiro is depressed when he notices a new section of Conway's walkthrough that informs him of a way to resume the game an hour before his death. Hiro decides to spend an entire month preparing and begins exercising, lifting himself out of his depression, becoming closer to his sister, and even standing up to his voice inadvertently. Hiro realizes that Kamui experienced the same thing, which gives him hope. Ryana lends Hiro a new console a month later, and he returns to the game. Like in